Good morning, everyone. How are you? Welcome to The Bloody Truth, and I have the very wonderful Michelle I want to say Minnikin.
You're right.
That's
the name.
I was just like, I have no idea how to pronounce that.
Oh, I've had all sorts. And my favourite one is Munchkin when they get that very wrong, and it's cute, so it's grand. Yeah, Minion as well. I've had Minion a lot, but yeah.
I just had a moment where I was like, I know I've said it in my head, but I haven't said it out loud before. Okay, perfect. We are live, and I just realized I did not mute my browser on the other side. We're live. We're good. I've said your name correctly.
Yay.
And on the internet. Perfect. So I have been very excited about today. I met Michelle at the HR Big Meet this year in your workshop, and I was just sat in the workshop like and like nodding my head so much that I was like, oh, I probably look like
it's gonna fall off.
Yeah. So I just agreed with everything that you said about because I know I called today Bloody Good Deprogramming, which is kind of a mashup of both our worlds.
Yep.
But it just it is just everything you talk about. I just wholeheartedly agree with. And everything I talk about needs this sort of layer of deprogramming to really understand it, accept it, reduce those kind of taboos. And yeah, so very, very much aligned in where we're coming from. So I will hand over to you to introduce yourself, lest I say something incorrectly.
First of all, I want to say that I met you at the HR Big Meet, and you were on stage, and my head was nodding like crazy, and it's like, yeah, I need to meet Sam. As soon as she gets off stage, I'm like, right, okay, just let her decompress from being on the stage and just like be cool. Don't be a weird fangirl. So yes, I am absolutely delighted to be on here with you, and I've never been cool a day in my life, so it's fine.
Yeah.
So what do you want to know? My name is Michelle Minnikin, as we've already established. I am a business work psychologist, coach, author of the book Good Girl Deprogramming, which looks at all of the ways that society keeps women and girls behaving. And to my absolute horror, I figured out that they use the same techniques they use on prisoners of war, coercive control, to keep us in line. So obviously, if women were supposed to be subservient, they wouldn't put this much effort in. Yeah.
That just gave me a bit of like goosebumps. That's awful.
It is. I was like, yeah, I was absolutely devastated. I was writing the book and found it very traumatic. So book number 2 is being set, made pretty as we speak. So it's the book for 10 to 14-year-old girls.
I'm excited. I know we've talked about this before, and I just think it's so important to get in at that age. I mean, we got told nothing, like oblivious, basically, about our rights, about our bodies, about what we have access to, about anything really to do with ourselves or our brains even.
Yeah, just be nice, smile, don't upset the boys or you'll get hurt in some way. Yeah, that was pretty much the rule. So made people pleasing, this undiagnosed ADHD thing, made people pleasing the fawn response to threat and fear, my entire personality. So
yes, I did I did at the Geek together, and I also spoke about fawning being that people pleasing as a default, and I kind of understood these concepts about fight, flight, freeze, and fawning to an extent, but it really made a lot of sense for me sort of post ADHD autism diagnosis, and I'm like, so people pleasing has just been a sort of almost like trauma response to keep myself safe, because I have never felt like I fit in the world, and I've desperately always tried to do everything that I could do to fit in. And then I realized that my brain wasn't meant to fit in. And I was like, oh, now I see this kind of response.
Yeah, same, absolutely the same. And it was the anger of understanding the whole being, 40 years of undiagnosed ADHD, autism, and plus things. I've started calling myself ADHD plus now because I struggle to say ADHD without saying it weirdly. So yeah, ADHD plus, I find that it's kind of off the tongue.
It's like Disney Plus.
Yeah, Disney plus, ADHD plus. So just plus, everything's plus. Or minus, depending on what mood I'm in. Time of the month, obviously, comes into a massive impact on that. But the book came from the rage associated with, why didn't I have this information sooner? Yeah. And then being a girl, oh my God, we're not allowed to be angry. Angry is like, it's not allowed. So I scared the shit out of myself and went off to get some therapy and coaching to sort of make myself more socially acceptable.
Yeah.
And I picked a coach that would not let me be socially acceptable. Thank you, Karen. So yes, the book was born.
Yeah, because like anger is one of we've got like core emotions, and we have like, it's a difference between being aggressive and being angry. They're not the same thing. And I think they get lumped in. So if like you're angry, then obviously you're aggressive with it. But anger is so important for us to express and move through that. And I think also what is not talked about enough is emotion isn't binary. Most of the time, we're supposed to be happy. And if we're sad, then there's something wrong. But actually, emotions aren't binary like that. You can be happy and content and peaceful, but also feel like an underlying sense of like worry or anxiety about something. It doesn't take away from either. No. And we just kind of feel like we're supposed to be slotted into this like palatable, pleasant and people-pleasing role and to be happy.
It's absolutely ridiculous. So if you think from an evolutionary perspective, the happy people didn't notice the saber-toothed tiger and got eaten. So all of the happy humans were eaten like centuries ago. So we are literally the anxious lot that survived because we were noticing what was happening on the savannah, etc. So we are literally our base emotion is probably anxiety. And that's what's kept us going and being able to pass on our genes. So yeah.
It's so interesting because we're programmed to see the negative as a sort of survival mechanism. So I think that's really interesting in terms of that kind of like anxiety or worry or preoccupation with things going on. Yeah, that's just survival response.
Yes, it is. And that's how our genes have been passed on, because the happy ones like la 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 la, and then they get eaten.
Yeah.
Or they don't remember that the berries would, Fred died when he ate the murder berries, and I'm just gonna be happy and eat the berries, and then I die. So yeah, it's our worry, our anxiety has kept us going. And I keep saying to people, and we're literally, because we're made of so much water, we're literally just cucumbers with anxiety as humans.
That's the best explanation I've ever heard. Cucumbers with anxiety. Oh, that's going to live with me.
Yeah, there we go. What big takeaway from today?
Yeah, cucumbers with anxiety. I
don't eat cucumbers as well, so I can say that if you don't get that on the cannibalistic route.
Yeah, I don't know how to follow that. So I was going to say, cut to early 90s, which is when I was at secondary school. So completely unaware of my own neurodivergence. I mean, I did get dyslexia as a diagnosis, so at least I had that. But I was put in special classes, is what they were actually called. Anyway, but I also had no understanding about my body. I remember we got we did that thing, where boys separate and then girls separate, and there's some sort of a brief sentence about a menstrual cycle, and that's it. Good to go. Ready for life.
It's also like, why did our parents think that school was going to teach us this stuff?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, Oliver already knew all of the things. My almost 16-year-old son knew all of the things before school tried to teach him it. Because I'm like, it's like, surely that's part of my job as a parent, but my parents didn't at all. Yeah. I got sort of like, here's a pad.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like, I don't know what's going on. Here's a pad at the age of like 9. Here's a pad. And then I got here's a razor as well, because my legs were hairy, because
So I think I've said this before on this, but the first time I ever shaved my legs, obviously I went through my mum's stuff and raided it. I put Imac on and then shaved it because I thought that Imac was like the shaving foam.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was a different thing. Mum was like, oh no. But again, so uninformed. And in terms of like our menstrual cycles, I think it's such a, well, I think it is a massive part of our bodies, our biology, and it baffles me that there is zero importance put on that when we're growing up, when we're developing. But then again, when we get to the workplace as well, again, that's pushed down even further. If there was like a little like hubbub around it when we first start having them, or maybe, you know, like when we start the first, you know, I think I want to go on the pill conversation, you know, with your mum or whatever, your parents, and then, you know, and then it all, you know, you try and as best you can disappear your periods until, you know, maybe you want to have children, or maybe decide that they're not right for you.
Put them up your sleeve.
Yes, exactly that. I was like, what is happening?
You put your pads up your sleeve so nobody could see that.
Secret one. Or like you have, like I used to rip a little pocket behind my pocket in my blazer. Yeah, so that I could like,
now
you
I
could
put
put
them in my bra, but because
no,
room.
you could make like a secret, like if you put under the stitches, and you could hide stuff in your blazer that wasn't in your pocket. But yeah, then we get to the workplace, and then it's even like, if you thought you couldn't talk about them before, now it's like silence. You must not display weakness of any level, and that includes having hormones or fluctuations or neurodivergence. You must behave how we have been taught to behave, as palatable people pleasers.
Professional.
Yes.
I hate that word. It drives me insane. It's like, what even is it?
I know. I also hate the word I've forgotten the word.
Exactly. So bad, we've forgotten it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It'll come to me in a minute. It begins with productive. That's the word.
Yeah. Resilient
yeah.
as well drives me insane.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be an entire, like, it's supposed to be a short-term thing. Resilience.
Yeah.
Not supposed to be like years of your life being resilient.
No. And also sometimes you can get toxic resilience, which then just feeds into a trauma response of you actually not then, you know, addressing how you might feel, or kind of unpacking that a little bit.
Everything's fine. Everything's fine. I'm fine. I don't need any help. I'm just slowly dying and drowning.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we are, you know, as your, you know, your work and your book so put so well, like we are programmed to do that, to not speak up, to not advocate for our needs. My lovely mum, her key sentence that I remember it in sort of in this kind of thing was, I don't want to rock the boat. And it's language like that that kind of gets passed down. And it's just, you know, it's generational. And I felt like, oh, you know, I don't want to rock the boat. And I always used to go out of my way to my own detriment. I used to say that as a way, like I was so proud of it. Like, I'll give everything to my own detriment until I have nothing. And it was like, and I prided myself on that fact. So
yeah, I was independent, little Miss Independent. I am the most independent person on the planet, and I don't need help from anybody. I can do it all myself.
Yeah.
Are you mental? Yes, you were, Michelle. Yes, you're very
Yeah.
mental. But this is, this wasn't you choosing. This is how, yeah.
Yeah.
And again, yours wasn't you choosing. This is how they had us.
Yeah. So how do we start to kind of like unravel that?
84,000 words I wrote in my book. No, I'm joking.
Buy the book.
Buy the book. Hang on. I do have one. I normally have one within. Yes, no.
But like as a starting point, I mean,
Notice
like
the shoulds.
yeah, I think that's a good starting place. Shoulds are a red flag. I say that all the time. Like if if should comes out of your mouth, immediately stop and have a little bit of a reassess.
Yeah, shoulds. What's the other one? Feeling resentful is a surefire emotion around your boundaries getting squished. So yeah, so listen out for the shoulds and listen out for the resentment, because that's, and again, it's like questioning why. Just ask yourself, why are you doing it?
Yeah, exactly. I think at least for me, like being a business owner, and I've sort of been doing this for 5 years now. I never thought that running my own business would be such a personal development journey. I mean, it's basically been therapy for 5 years, and I have a business as a result. But you have to do a lot of looking in the mirror every day. There's a lot of like putting yourself out there or feeling rejected. And I think I have to say, I don't think I would have done so much work on myself to kind of unravel those things if it wasn't for the fact that, I had a business to run, and I, needed to develop a healthy resilience to the the RSD is real, like rejection sensitive dysphoria, like for spicy brains, having to put yourself out there and then constantly rejected. But also I think it helped look at a lot of things around your worth, especially with pricing and how much you give for yourself. And it's never more apparent, I think, that kind of level of programming. I think the amount of stuff that you're prepared to give for free of yourself is quite proportionate to that, that programming and how like deep seated that is. It took me a long time to unravel that. And I don't know if that's because I'm a neurodivergent person and that need to like people please and mask is stronger, or just it's me and sort of my own conditioning sort of growing up and what social conditioning, and not just from family, but the world around me growing up in the 90s. But it did, there became a point where I was like, it didn't feel good to give stuff for free of myself, and that resentment sort of started to creep in. And I think that's a really good point, is when you're giving stuff to other people and you walk away and you feel resentful and you didn't feel appreciated, and you're like, I don't know why I bother, blah 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 blah. That is a
fair
good
exchange.
Yeah, there wasn't a fair exchange. That's completely right. But it takes a while to identify that.
Honestly, I woke up one day working. So this is year 9, so it'll be my 10-year business, various businesses. I've just, it took me a while to figure out what I wanted to do when I grew up. When I grow up, as if that's ever going to happen. But I literally woke up and I realized that I was volunteering my time in voluntary roles, and I was like, there's a reason why I'm not selling anything. And I found that was probably me hiding. Like, oh well, if I'm doing this volunteer work, I'm doing that volunteer work. It's like, dude, you don't have the finances to do this much bloody volunteering. It's like, maybe you use that as a tactic to stop that rejection sensitivity. So if you don't say to people, hey, this is what I do, pay me some money, then nobody can say no.
Yeah. So true. It is a bit of an eye-opening journey running a business. And then, yeah, 5 years in, I feel like I'm at a place where, you know, I've made a point of that the exchange feels right, and that, you know, I don't feel resentful. But if you haven't got that motivation to do that, I think, you know, sometimes it can take a lot longer, especially if you're in a role working like, you know, an in-house role, or, you know, working for an organization. I think that takes a long time to kind of unpick that a little bit and work out like where you're overgiving, because the demand on you is normalized a lot more, because that's just what everyone does as
Yeah.
well.
Well, yeah. Do they though?
Yeah. Do they?
Do they? No, it's interesting. So yeah, I've been in organizations where I had colleagues who did the same job, essentially as me, and were getting paid 10 grand more and weren't expected to do as much as well. So there's like,
Yeah.
there is, you know, the whole weird power dynamics and the gender pay gap stuff, and the expectation that, you know, you're the woman, so you're going to do all of the, you know, the emotional labor and make sure that all of the people crying in the toilets are okay. We did a big change program. It was a lot. It's like a couple of years of people crying in the toilets. It's like, I'm recruitment. This is not my job. And yeah, it's interesting, but I keep saying it's like layers. I was saying it's like layers of an onion, but I don't like that analogy at all. But I feel like it's a snake skin. So as we are kind of more in tune with who we are, we shed a layer rather than shrinking, because nobody wants women to shrink, you know. So it's we you know, we get bigger in understanding who we are. But that's the dirty skin is around the, you know, the good girl stuff, and the corporate conditioning is unbelievable. The school stuff. So school, university twice, go into the world of work. So bearing in mind my master's was around what the best practices is for organizations. So how can you get the best out of people? How do you understand motivation? How do you understand organizational design? Can you imagine my face walking into an organization? I'm like, and you know, the undiagnosed autistic kid, I'm like, well, I know how we should be doing things, and it's none of this.
No.
It's like, so then having to learn the rules of what a, you know, a woman who works in the business, those rules. And it took me years to, when I finally like, screw this, I'm going to do my own thing. It took me years to decondition myself from all of that corporate stuff.
Yeah.
It's like, I have to sit at my desk from 9 till 5. Why? We did not evolve again. You know, us anxious cucumbers did not evolve to sit 8 hours at a desk. Our brains don't work that way.
No. There's been a lot of visual. I was thinking maybe it's like an onion, a reverse onion. We sort of grow out.
Yeah, that's the snakes. Yeah, the snakes, they shed the skin when they get bigger. So
Yeah.
when they
Yeah.
become more of themselves, they shed the skin. I'm still working on these analogies, but yes.
I think maybe we could probably, it's not too much of a leap to go from an anxious cucumber to a snake that shed its skin. I think we could get there better than the onion.
Yes.
Not
Anxious.
that I was distracted by the fruit metaphors, vegetable metaphors. But yeah, I know it does take a while, and there needs to be some sort of
Rewilding.
yes, in the workplace. But there does need to be that like intervening thing where something like wakes you up and you're like, oh, things are different. You know, they should be different, but they're not. And I should be doing all of these things, but I'm not. Why do you just in your opinion, I mean, that conversation about periods in the workplace, I was always going to talk about periods at some point. But yeah, why do you think it is so, just in your opinion, like why do you think that it's so much taboo? What is it do you think that it's threatening? Do you think, like, what part of that, like, good girl process is that part of?
So going back to school, where the boys and girls got separated and we were shamed, it's like the boys and girls were separated. They were taught coercive control. I'm convinced of it because they're very good at it sometimes. I don't think they were really. I'm just being facetious. So we were taught about periods. Maybe it's like, here's a pad, go away and bleed somewhere else. So the fact is that they were separated. It was seen as taboo. We'd be laughed at. If a boy saw us with pads, or if they found a pad on a woman, they would be ridiculed and like, oh, what's wrong with you? Are you on your period? All of that at school.
Mm-hmm.
So we're kind of carrying sort of low-level bullying trauma from that, and the fact that the teachers hid it. It was shameful,
Yeah.
and the boys didn't really get it, but they knew it was something they could take the piss out of us for. And then the boys didn't grow up and we still had the shame. And organizations, I believe, are built on all of the wounded masculine traits around dominance, power, control, productivity, resilience, stoicism. I struggle with the stoicism because I think there are some very good points, but also it's like weaponized stoicism.
Yeah.
And the fact that men's cycles are daily cycles, women's cycles are monthly cycles. And it does not work. The whole kind of expecting to be as productive, giving 100% every day, as well as the emotional labor we're expected to do, not just in work, but outside of work with friends. If you're a parent, if you're a daughter, well, you obviously are going to be a daughter, but all of the other people that we have to be a good girl for.
Yeah.
So we don't just, and I say workplaces were built, for like Mr. Banks out of Mary Poppins. I talked about this in my talk, don't I? So Mary Poppins, basically, there we go, children. My entire sort of contribution to parenting is sort of, patting him on the head and sending them off to bed. And he gets to go and spend the entire day at work, focusing on himself, focusing on talking about how wonderful he is at work. And all of his other needs are met. Whereas women, even, we can't, we're not allowed because we're expected to be other things for other people. So it is, there are layers.
Yeah, that's I think that, well, I definitely agree. There's so much truth in all of that. And I think, I don't think it's changed much now. Like, I know someone who is a teacher, and she showed me in the syllabus, it was like a paragraph about periods, and they separated the boys and girls. And I really think we need to stop doing that. If little boys are period aware, become men who are allies to us, and in a way that's just, it's not a thing.
Stop making a big deal out of it is the problem. They make such a big deal out of it, and it's like shameful, and we have to hide it.
Yeah.
It's just a normalized thing. So my little boy was, he was like a koala, like literally wouldn't leave me alone. So he would follow me into the toilet. And then when I was on my period, he was like, oh my God, you're bleeding, kind of trauma. And I was like, right. So at the age of probably 2.5, 3, I had to explain to him about periods. Obviously I used a bird nest analogy because, it's like there's a little bird inside anyway. But he's understood it.
Yeah.
And it's been like, it's normal for him.
Yeah. I think I hear that in a lot of like clients I speak to as well. Like, I think the stories are changing, and sons are seeing like their mums changing moon cups and pads, and it's just part of a normal conversation. And I had one of my friends, she messaged me because her son had come to her and said, I really want to know like how I can support my girlfriend when she's like premenstrual, and what I can get for her and what I can do. And I was just like,
I know, my heart just,
that's just the best. That's the best thing I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think things are changing, probably not quick enough. But I feel like until like maybe younger generations come more prevalently into the workforce, it's sort of we're progressing, but then it stops when you get to like the workplace because of like all the conditioning and toxicity that kind of exists. But I really do think, well, I'm mindful of time as well. I really do think we need to like redefine what productivity, and maybe call it just something else. I mean, not just for people who bleed and have fluctuating hormone levels, for neurodivergent brains, for anyone with any kind of chronic condition. It looks different, and we just need to move out of those sort of practices of working the 9 to 5, whatever, and find ways that allows people to be productive at times that make sense for them.
And that just involves trust.
Yeah.
And that's what's massively missing in the corporate world, is trust. Trust that people are there to do the right thing. They're there they want to do good, but you're putting too many barriers in the place that they can't, and then they go into the fight, flight, freeze, fawn response and pretend.
Amazing. Thank you.
Day. I know, but we can't.
I know, we could literally, we've had chats before and they just tend to creep on, and we have lots to say. But yes, tell us, when is your new book coming out? What is it called? Where can we get it?
Hopefully. So it's Good Girl Deprogramming Girls Edition.
Yes.
Because I've got the trademark, so I have to use it. And then it penciled in, I think, the 23rd of November, which is book anniversary, second book anniversary. So
nice.
I've kind of decided that every 2 years I need to release a book. So this is this one. I'm coming after the men next, maybe.
Yes, absolutely. I think that needs to happen. Yep. But yes, if you, absolutely, anyone is listening, or share, because we do need to educate young people, right at that sort of age where they're sort of coming into the world of periods, of themselves, of their, becoming aware socially in a way that they weren't before. I think that's a really good age to tap into, and let them know what their rights are, not just our the rights that we have to, I can't think of the word, like our social rights as well.
Yes, so we can do what we don't have to follow all of these made up rules.
Exactly that. Well, thank you very much, Michelle. Was there anything you wanted to say that we didn't touch on, or
having me on? It's been a pleasure. I love speaking to you. So again, I'll just speak to you all day.
Yeah. Oh yes. Well, thank you very much, and thanks everyone for listening, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks. Bye.